That's right. Greetings, fellow Ghibli fans. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And Jacob Wile.
There are few names in the field of animation that inspire awe and admiration like animation master Hayao Miyazaki. To properly pay tribute to the man's illustrious career, we've embarked on a 3-year journey through his films, seeking enlightenment along the way. May you find it this month, may you find it with us this May-azaki.
Miyazaki!
Hi-yo!
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 Hi-yo! Hi-yo!
Yo,
Miyazaki, go! Hi-yo! 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 Hi-yo!
Oh, so stupid. All right.
And this is why we should rehearse.
No, that's all good. Okay, gentlemen, we have reached the season finale of Miyazaki. Just to lay out the what we've done so far, basically next year we've got the first 2 films in Miyazaki's career and the last 2 films in Miyazaki's career. So that will be next year. But tonight we are ending out on a big one. I put in the video description, this is the closest thing that Miyazaki has to a blank check movie. It's his spirit. It's his post-Spirited Away magnum opus, Howl's Moving Castle. Let's see, Jacob. I'll throw it to you first. What do you think of this one?
I mean, I don't know. This isn't necessarily going to be a controversial opinion. I mean, definitely not as controversial as what Code Chaos is saying in the comments to the site, which we'll probably get to later. Personally, I think that of the movies of the Hayao Miyazaki movies that I've seen so far, I'd probably say this is my favorite one. I mean, trust me, it is pretty close. And keep in mind, I've only seen like 3 of the ones last year, and so far all of the ones this year. The one last year I haven't seen so far is Porco Rosso. So I can't pass judgment on that, and obviously I haven't seen any of the 4 for next year either. So is it of the ones I've seen so far? I think this is probably my favorite one. That the animation and art design is top notch. I mean, this is basically Studio Ghibli at the top of their craft, especially for the time. Like the castle itself is an amazing set piece and design. I love all the characters. I mean, granted, sometimes the plot moves a little bit too quickly and some things are convenient, but I think it makes up for it with pretty much everything else that happens. I personally really was invested in this story, and I loved almost every second of it.
All right, nice. Dragon, what do you think?
So I remember with Howl's Moving Castle, I heard a lot of buzz around this, for years. Specifically, the Pete Docter always really liked it. And there's good reason why he liked it, because he was involved in the production to some degree, but we'll get there. But yeah, he had always kind of cited Howl's Moving Castle, and it always stuck with me in terms of like all the Ghibli films to eventually check out. Like when I honestly, I'm trying to remember if when I first started kind of tackling them through through Max, I want to say aside from Porco, I think Porco was always the one I kind of had in my back pocket. But regardless, if it was either Castle in the Sky or Howl was the first one I checked out, I want to say was Howl, just based on all the buzz. Unless I wanted to go really chronological, but the point being, I definitely would have. Howl was early on my watch list for that, and this is very much Miyazaki's anti-war movie. It's quite beautifully executed. It's got a nice relationship at the heart of it. It's kind of I would go as far as say it's kind of Miyazaki's Up, appropriately enough. It's kind of his Up, kind of along with I think this movie along with The Wind Rises is kind of the closest that Miyazaki got to kind of doing his version of his Pixar equivalent to the movie Up. It's it's because it's very I like the majority of us here. I think we're all close with our elders. We have respect for the elderly. If we took anything away from the movie Up and just kind of life in general, we like old people. And I think this hit a chord with me, and it really I think it really captured the experience. I think it has something really nice to say about it, and I think it's fun. It's fun and sweeping in the visuals and the score. We have a really great main theme for Howl, which I love. It's I think it's a standout in kind of the post-Oscar Miyazaki stuff. Maybe I don't know if it's my favorite. Like, for example, I don't think it's as perfect as Spirited Away or Mononoke, which again, those are top tier. I mean, I don't think it's as perfect as those films, but I do really like it. I think I'm kind of with Jacob a little bit here. I do think plot wise, we're kind of throwing some stuff at the wall in the last 20 minutes. Let's be honest. Okay, we are. But it's like, again, it's such a great movie, and you're having such a good time with it. And there's some coziness and there's action. It's got a little bit of everything. Because of that, it's the ultimate. We don't care.
We don't care.
Exactly. So, at the end of the day, this is representative of the hallmarks of Miyazaki, but also has it has something to say. And I think the big takeaway with this is kind of what we're doing here is, it's kind of this movie, whether intentional or not at the time, what Miyazaki's going through in life, this kind of feels like this is his kind of reflection on aging. I mean, this, I would suppose, along with Boy and the Heron mainly kind of looking back on his life. This is very much kind of like a man kind of coming to terms with the winter of his years, kind of in realization of what does that mean? I have all this life in me, all this youthful energy, but my body is there are limits to what I can do, which basically he then kind of saw firsthand in Ponyo, which then kind of got him thinking retirement. So that's kind of the trajectory that we're on here, starting with this movie. So Howl is a turning point for the man. I think it shows, and I think there's kind of a haunting kind of quality to it in all the best of ways with that.
Nice, well said. Yeah. So for me, this is my first time watching this. It's one of the last Miyazaki films that I need to. It might be besides Nausicaa. I think Nausicaa actually might be the last one that I've yet to check out. I'd have to go back and I'm pretty sure that's the case. I'm like 90% sure.
Well, there's like 12 movies, Tiki. It should be pretty simple for you to do the process of elimination. Like, oh boy, which ones have I not seen?
So I really, really admire this one. I don't think it's quite like top tier Miyazaki just because I respect what the story's going for, but I just the pacing of the way that we get the story is kind of all over the place. I really like elements of it. I think the best way that I can sum up this story is it's basically like if Ponyo was the Little Mermaid, this is definitely Beauty and the Beast.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. For me, I think the best element of this movie is actually the characters. I honestly, this might be a hot take. I honestly think this might have the strongest ensemble cast out of any Miyazaki movie. I kind of love every single character in this thing. I really feel like they bounce off the screen. They're very dynamic. And honestly, like, it's kind of fun. I don't know. I am a little bit split on this. And Kogias, like, I'm going to try and get to your stuff, man, but you're kind of blowing up the chat here. So I apologize if I don't get to all of it. So I feel like on one hand, it's a simple story just in the fact that, like, it's basically like a found family kind of movie with the Beauty and the Beast component to it. But I think the thing that kind of muddies the waters, is weirdly enough the world building. And the world building is great to a certain extent. Like I definitely love ideas here. I love the concept of the actual castle and the wheel with the different entryways and all that. I just think that the actual mechanics of the plot, there's just a lot going on here, man. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot to keep track of. This is the first time in our rewatches that I've actually had to I watched the Japanese version first, but then I went back and I watched the English dub. I'm glad I did, because honestly, I think this might be the strongest Miyazaki dub. I think. Like I mean, Kogias has some things to say about Christian Bale, but I mean, I think Christian Bale fits this role perfectly. He's not the most dynamic voice actor in the world, but I think for Howl specifically, I think he works really well. So
in his defense, he doesn't have to do it that often.
right. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I honestly, I come down a little bit more mixed on this than you guys, but I still have a lot of respect for it. I don't know. We'll talk through it. Maybe you guys can convince me to get on your level of loving it. I like it a lot. I respect it a lot. There's just a lot going on. There's a lot to decipher here. I don't think it's top tier Miyazaki, but it's definitely like the second shelf from the top. I would say it's definitely.
Does it make the top 6?
Oh man, I don't think so, honestly, because I would have to say just going through it in my head, I think Boy and the Heron is better. I think Ponyo's better. Kiki.
There's the debate: ham versus bacon. That's
Porco Rosso, I would say, is better.
Porco Rosso?
Porco Rosso, I would say, is better.
Rosso.
Princess Mononoke, I would say, is better. It's right in the middle, honestly. I'd like everything else is kind of. Yeah, I'd say it's right. I'd say it's probably my number 6. It's like I'd say it's like right outside of the top 5 for me. I can't comfortably say it's in my top 5, but I can't comfortably say it's out of the top 6 either.
Okay.
All right. Anyways. Okay, so yeah, Kogias, like I said, I'm just gonna, I don't want to read through everything because it's just a lot, but let's see. Yeah, Kogias, it's a lot of complaining.
What if someone up Tiki?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know. Okay, I'll just go with this. Of the Studio Ghibli films that I've seen, in this case of Howl's Moving Castle, seen part of Howl's Moving Castle is the worst Studio Ghibli film, in my opinion. This is absolutely not as bad as any of the Goro Miyazaki movies, my friend. I can assure you. I know you probably haven't seen them, but I can assure you this is not as bad as those.
See, Goro he can just sense you saying that, like a single tear just kind of.
I'm sorry, Goro. I know that your father's kind of a dick, but he's also an animation master. All right. The man. I get it. It's big shoes to fill.
Well, to be fair, at least From Up on Poppy Hill is considered decent.
No, that's true. I actually haven't seen From Up on Poppy. Yeah, From Up on Poppy.
Goro wants is the thumbs up.
And let's face it, Tales of Mercy is well animated.
Yeah, sure. And then we have Earwig and the Itch, or Earwig and the.
Yeah, nobody's going to defend Earwig and the Witch.
No, Goro didn't do that one, did he?
Yes, he did.
Oh, poor Goro.
Poor Goro.
But Goro did do some work on Boy and the Heron, so.
Yeah. Kogias is bringing up the voice acting. Like I said, I disagree. I think Christian Bale, he's not a good fit for a lot of voice roles, but I do think he fits Howl very well.
That's probably why he doesn't do a lot of voice acting.
Right, exactly.
I've done less than 5 voice roles. I'm trying to struggle to think of what other voice roles are you really talking about aside from Pocahontas.
He also did Boy and the Heron, funnily
I
enough.
know he did Boy and the Heron. That's intentional. They went back and used the other voices because he wanted a full circle effect. That's why we have them there.
Uh-huh.
So that doesn't count.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. Like it's funny because Kokias, I know your favorite movie is The Wind Rises. My favorite is Whisper of the Heart out of all the Ghibli canon. And I see what you're saying about using the realism to, ground it, but I don't know, man. There's something about just how ambitious this thing is with the pure fantasy of it all that I do have to respect. Maybe Miyazaki, I don't know. I think something like Ponyo is pretty fantastical. We already established with Ponyo, it's working class people, but they're the mother's literally driving through a rainstorm and the town literally gets flooded. So maybe Ponyo is kind of the balance that you're looking for there. I don't know.
There you go.
When Hayao Miyazaki gets really deep into fantasy stuff like Spirited Away and Howl's movie castle things go too far for me.
Okay, to entertain Kogias's point here, I'm kind of with him here. That was always my hesitation in getting into Ghibli, because I knew
I actually like this better than Spirited Away, which is probably a hot take. I'll say that much.
That's pretty.
I'm kind of like infamously like a little bit lukewarm about Spirited Away. Like I totally get why people admire it. For me, it's just I don't know. There's definitely elements of it that are great. I just feel like it's a little overhyped. But anyways,
My point is, I was with the Ghibli stuff. I was always hesitant because I loved the presentation of kind of like our act. I think the act ones of the Ghibli films have always been really great in terms of like we kind of start from a very grounded place, and then we introduce the magical elements, and that's usually kind of the make or break. Now, in going through the catalog properly, it's like I find the balance has been even enough where it kind of sold me initially, where I would like be hesitant of like, oh man, I don't know, because I've always had like a buffer with magic, which over the years I've kind of broken past, but it's this thing where okay, we're still with our perspective is still with kind of like the human character, and then as kind of like our touchstone or our tether, and that's kind of bringing like Spirit Away, Shiro, where we're kind of going into that world, and but I'm with him though, and I really do love The Wind Rises, because that was kind of the Ghibli film that I always wanted from the get go, in terms of like something that was very grand to see what Miyazaki would do with it. And Porco Rosso is is very close to that as well. I think it's one of the reasons I really love Porco Rosso, because there's like one element, but everything else is grounded as it gets.
Sure.
But again, obviously, there's fun to be had too, and we're going for kind of like a kind of very almost like a pot pie kind of vibe in terms of we can end on a fist fight, and we have like some awesome dog fights,
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Anyway.
Kokias, you don't need to apologize, man. It's just I'm just saying, like with all the stuff you wrote out, we don't really have time for me to read out everything. That's all.
Okay, we'll just take an edible arrangement, heavy on the pineapple. We're just gonna...
Right. All right. So let's get into it, Dragon. Let's get some background.
Okay, so 2002, Spirit Away wins the Best Animated Feature Oscar. This is a huge achievement for a variety of reasons. Second, but one, the award was just introduced a year earlier. With Shrek winning, that was the first. So initially, it was like second time it's been given out. A Japanese anime film winning is a big deal, and of course,
with all due respect to Shrek, that is a crazy jump up in quality from year 1 to year 2.
Right. Also, again, Monsters Inc. probably there's always
it wouldn't have been that much of a big jump in quality if Monsters Inc. had won. I mean, and I like Shrek. I'm just saying, like, I think Shrek 2 is, we can all agree, the better movie out of.
Well, yeah, but.
And Spirited Away went up against like Lilo and Stitch.
That's true.
There's stiff competition.
I would still give it to Spirited Away. I obviously like Lilo and Stitch more as a movie, but I think Spirited Away probably. Again, I always like when Best Animated Feature goes to the movie that's actually the most artistically ambitious, and that's obviously what Spirited Away is. Anyways, go ahead, Dragon. I'm sorry.
Anyway, point being, so it's the second time the award's been given out. Goes to a Japanese film, and not only Japanese, hand-drawn, which that's even rare. Honestly, I'm struggling to think of what other hand-drawn winners.
I mean, outside of Boy and the Heron,
obviously. Aside from Boy and the Heron.
Dragon only two 2D animated movies have won that award.
There we go. Okay, so
and there's only one other movie that wasn't computer animated that won the award. And funnily enough, it went up against this and won. Curse of the Were-Rabbit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
This Curse of the Rabbit beat this movie at the Oscars.
I do think that's kind of funny.
Yep.
So that's the thing. That's a pretty historic kind of honor that Miyazaki has. He's been the only two director of the only two films that were 2D that have won that Oscar.
Oh.
Anyway, so very notably, so again, Spirited Away wins. Miyazaki's a no-show. Now he's a no-show. Not just for like a resilience to kind of to visit America. It's not entirely it. The main reason was he was kind of doing it to make a statement about the war in Iraq. not like a big political agenda. It was just very simple. Like Miyazaki, he was very offended by the United States
He was
invading
essentially
Iraq.
taking the knee.
Essentially, it's kind of it's very interesting. 'Cause I want to say in the same year, Michael Moore did something kind of similar with the. He didn't like not go, but he made a big speech when he won the award, kind of like denouncing all the stuff that was going on there. I believe that was like for Bowling. I think the Bowling for Columbine year was.
I think that was actually Fahrenheit.
No. That was when he got Columbine. Then that's when motivated to do Fahrenheit.
Yeah, but I'm saying I think the speech was for Fahrenheit, though.
I think you should go back and check, but okay.
Okay, sorry.
The point being, assuming whatever year that was,
you're probably right.
But whatever year it was, assuming I had my years right in terms of when that happened, it'd be kind of interesting. Like the year Michael Moore does it, then Miyazaki doesn't show up.
Fahrenheit was like directly like Bowling for Columbine. Like Fahrenheit was directly about the Iraq War.
Yeah, but I'm saying like in Fahrenheit 9/11, they use that clip of the awards show, so they can't really.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that kind of.
Yeah.
That kind of speaks for itself. My bad.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That was like the end for maybe I should explore this subject.
Right. Okay, my bad.
We got a lot of flack for it, which kind of motivated like I should talk about this. Anyway, so point being, Miyazaki was a no-show. It's kind of basically.
What's funny about that is that like nowadays, like celebrities, they probably could get in trouble for like not bashing Trump at the Oscars.
Well, there's whatever political thing going on, but yeah.
Right.
Whatever it's always. Anyway, the point being.
Times change.
So, a point being, Miyazaki was disgusted by the U.S. invasion of Iraq and the bombings, for obvious reasons, reminding him of kind of the war-torn kind of childhood that he had. Mm-hmm. And, that very much incensed him, and he decided not to show up. Of course, politically, he couldn't. Being nice, he and Suzuki, they basically opted to not say that's why they didn't go, but years later it'd be like, oh, that's absolutely why we didn't go. We were very upset about that. So, culmination of factors. This, along with there was a lot of after Spirited Away 1, there was a lot of buzz, a lot of kind of a lot of negative buzz. Not negative buzz. There's a lot of Miyazaki was getting frustrated that everyone was some people in the press were kind of saying Spirited Away's success was mainly due to Disney's marketing push, the whole Miramax Disney thing, basically being a way of okay, this is how we're.
That's frustrating.
So that was the thing of it's it's this great achievement, and then everyone's saying, oh well, the reason it got it was Disney. They had Disney backing, so everyone was able to see it, which of course really incensed Miyazaki. So that, along with what was going on in Iraq, he was very incensed. Essentially, he made Howl's Moving Castle angry. That's kind of the big takeaways. What I'm getting at here, he kind of made this movie out of spite. Which is real. So he kind of made it out of spite. Between movies, I think there were plans to adapt this story regardless, but the whole war element of the story was absolutely inspired by what was going on in the world. So that was not in the book at all.
Well, the thing is, he was originally planned to be directed by somebody else.
Well, that too. Yeah, so the film was going to be directed by somebody else, and then Miyazaki, Miyazaki always likes to ultimately. You gotta remember, Miyazaki rarely is slated to be the director at the start of these projects. It does happen sometimes, but sometimes it just kind of falls into his lap because he kind of let me tweak this. Let me give you some advice here. Okay, just let me take it off your plate. Let me just take it here. Okay. Yeah, Miyazaki just kind of brings it to his little desk in the corner. Anyway, so Miyazaki's adapting the book Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. Now, Diana Wynne Jones, this is adorable. He visited her in, I believe, in the UK, and they discussed the movie in Wales. Discussed it over cake. They had cake, and they discussed the idea of let's turn this into a movie.
And she knew the movie was going to be different, but ended up loving it anyway.
Yeah. She was very, very open about the end result. She had no notes. She was very, she's a big girl. She realized, you know what? Yeah, I know it's not going to be verbatim the book, but at least it was in the best hands it could be in. So she was very happy. Her main request is, okay, just make Howl as much like he is in the book as possible. It was her only request, and Miyazaki essentially honored it. He didn't leave anything out. He didn't change fundamentally who he was. That was the important,
And the funny thing is, originally she imagined the castle floating, but Miyazaki interpreted the castle as walking on the four legs that it eventually does.
Yeah. And we'll get into it, but I think the design of the castle itself and the mechanisms is that image alone is I think, more iconic than like pretty much the rest of the movie put together. It's such an eye-catching piece of visual filmmaking.
And the thing is, like, he basically made this movie thinking that it wouldn't be received well in the United States.
Again, out of spite.
Which he wasn't wrong.
like-
He succeeded there.
Like, no one. The funny thing is, it actually was well received in the United States.
Well, yes, Jacob, it was critically, but in the United States, especially, like, let's just say Code Geass's take is not exactly that hot of a take. I would say maybe calling it the absolute worst Ghibli movie is maybe a hot take, but calling it like among the weaker Miyazaki movies, that's not a hot take. I feel like I've heard that a lot from people. So it's all subjective, of course.
Now, I don't know if this was just something that was just kind of like came about during the making of the movie, or maybe deep down it was one of the reasons he picked the book, or the book kind of the work gravitated towards him. So apparently Miyazaki, the scene that we kind of have visualized here in our main image on the left, the calcifer Howl kind of origin point. That was like an image that Miyazaki's always kind of been fascinated by. He's always wanted to kind of like put into an animated movie. It was like basically this bucket list kind of thing for him, with like like basically somebody catching a shooting star. It was always kind of like this big image for him.
I feel like a bunch of accusatory eyes have just suddenly shifted to Wish. Like, what are you doing, Wish? You had Miyazaki's literal dream premise, and you blew it.
Yeah, so apparently it was like this thing of like, it was like one of those like, oh man, this is the kind of stuff I want to do in animation. Like, it was one of those kind of visual images for him. So I don't know if maybe that was in the book, and that was kind of like, you know what, I have to do this story. Maybe that was it, or maybe it was just like, maybe I can put this scene in this movie.
Right.
So he took a research trip to France, went to Colmar, France. Of course,
I love Miyazaki's research trips, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, I believe it was like one of the directors, like, of How to Train Your Dragon, like Dean DeBlois. I think he said like
Dean DeBlois.
Yeah, Dean DeBlois. Yeah, I think he said like, if you want to take good vacations, get into making animated movies and set them in these locations so you can go there.
Right.
Unless your early Pixar, in which you're gonna be going to like a freeway overpass or like a waste treatment plant or a golf.
I mean,
in the early years, they were not glamorous.
I mean, like, I think he was being facetious, but like Dean basically did say, like, if you want to go to these places, get into animation and make a movie set there.
Right.
And
I think my favorite on location stuff was probably The Lion King. Honestly, I love the stories of The Lion King.
Like going to Hell's Gate or something like that.
Anyways, Dragon, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right, so, yes, I mean, you look at the Ghibli films. Miyazaki's been very into the early stuff before Totoro is very European influence, so we're kind of getting back into that. So, going to kind of France, and you can feel kind of the French vibe in like the town at the start. It feels all very French.
And
I think the only thing that's missing is just like a literal like stereotypical Frenchman with a baguette going like, oh, I am France.
Oh no, Tiki has all the bread, my friend.
Right.
They have one slice of well animated bread in this movie. The rest of that bread, that's all Tiki.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so this movie's actually we kind of talked about this. Remember, we're doing this little act sequence in terms of like when these movies, with our time events here. So I want to say, with Ponyo was probably, again, per the way that movie's made, that one probably was like fully, hand drawn, not like scanned into the computer. Because this movie was, and again, that was the big thing. Miyazaki shut down that division, so they were able to do it here. So the idea is that this movie, it's animated and it's traditionally, ink and painted, traditionally in the backgrounds. However, they're put into the computer, kind of like you would like in a modern, kind of 2000s era production. Mm-hmm. So that's basic. I want to say that's mainly how we do the castle thing. The castle, if you look at it, it's kind of a background painting that is kind of like motion is added to it. I want to say that's a digital effect, but again, it's not like it's like.
I think
CG though.
I think it was actually CG, but like the textures were hand painted.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like it's kind of like it's composed and like I mean. It's not like it's kind of like it's kind of like the cap system, kind of.
It's almost kind of like the next step up from the cap system, if you
Yeah,
will.
that's the thing. It's kind of I want to call it a more rustic version of the cap system. This one's is like a
Right.
bare bones
Almost kind of like how
computer.
it kind of like how Spider-Verse did the whole like 2D, 3D thing.
Yeah. All right, so like I said, so this movie, so Miyazaki again, he made this movie out of spite, and with that, he wanted no marketing at all. And this is like the closest you're going to get to like, pretty much what I want to say, kind of what you have with Boy and the Heron to some degree. Where I want
Boy
to
and the
say,
Heron absolutely was basically that. It was just like a new film from Hayao Miyazaki.
so that's
Or the
essentially
last
this.
film from Hayao Miyazaki
So
specifically.
this,
and a poster.
so this was the original version of that. Then Tiki. This essentially was like the original like trial run of that kind of thing. Where I'm just going to drop it, no muss, no fuss. It's just there. It is. It's like Christopher Nolan's worst nightmare.
Oh God.
Anyway, so again, despite despite this movie being kind of made out of spite to a degree, he did, again, he still, he did incorporate the folks at Pixar for the dub. So Pete Docter actually directed the dub on this, which was I did not know until really looking into this movie, and it really shows though, and that's how we got some of our voice cast. Also, John Lasseter producing. So again, Pixar had some hands on this, and they had hands on like a few of the Lasseter specifically had a lot of hands on, the dub on. Kind of the Disney dub on a lot of these, but I think it's the first one that Pete Docter like fully like directed the voiceover for.
Mhm.
And like Hayao Miyazaki like handpicked like a lot of the English cast too, like especially like Lauren Bacall because he's a fan of old Hollywood.
Yeah, so that's the
I
thing.
love Lauren Bacall's. We'll get into it. I love her like inclusion here. It is so like it feels like a once in a lifetime kind of thing.
So that's the thing. So running through just a few of these. So Christian Bale, he saw Spirited Away. He absolutely wanted in. I'm sure winning an Oscar also helped. Of just like, oh my god, that movie's amazing. I just whatever it is, he did not expect to be the lead role. He just wanted to be in the movie in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren Bacall, she apparently this impressed me. Like she had a fondness for Ghibli. So it was like obviously Miyazaki loves all Hollywood, and he was really surprised to learn that she actually liked the Ghibli films. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard she was getting a little flirty with him too, which is adorable.
Oh God.
Like, are you married? It's just like she's just
Aww.
Very playfully.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so of course, presumably with the Pete Docter role, that's maybe where we get Billy Crystal's involvement.
And can I just say, like, I mean, I'm sure we'll get into it more. There's one line in particular towards the end that just does it for me, but I think this is Billy Crystal's best voice work, honestly.
Really?
That might be a hot take.
That is a hot take. Well, it's a flame, Tiki, of course.
I know, right? No, I don't know, man. I just think there's an emotional resonance to this character that, like, we love Mike Wazowski, of course, but like, like Sully's got all the heart in that franchise. I mean, granted, Mike Wazowski, I only saw Monsters University the one time. I'm sure he's got some good pathos in that movie.
Yes, he does.
No, I buy it. I buy that. But I don't know. Like I said, there's one moment towards the end here that I definitely want to highlight, but I want to, we'll build to that.
All right. I mean, I wouldn't even call it a hot take. I kind of agree. I mean, like, I'm also a big fan of Monsters, Inc., but I would probably say this is, who knows? I haven't seen Billy Crystal in a lot, but even barring everything, it's one of his best performances, period.
Uh-huh.
All right. So at the end of the day, Miyazaki, he was expecting dicey results, but I mean overall, one, it went over great in Japan. As far as the American audiences go, I mean, from what I understand, like it made its money back. It did well enough. Like, I don't know if it got nominated for best animated feature. So it did. Clearly, it wasn't like no one's like offended by like okay, it's tackling some kind of reflective subject matter here. I don't know how we feel about that.
It was definitely a blank check movie, but it's not a blank check failure. It's definitely like it wasn't as
like it wasn't a flop at all.
Right? Spirited Away, but I think. Again, Dragon, I'm terribly sorry to use this analogy. If anyone is a music fan, you'll get it. It's kind of like, I feel like Howl's Moving Castle is almost like the Kid A to Spirited Away's OK Computer. And if you know Radiohead, then you know that reference. Anyways, I digress.
The point being, I think honestly what happened was it just kind of had stiff competition. I want to say it had The Incredibles if you were kind of measuring it by what came out in 2004, so...
Which, by the way, that's the movie that I'm really shocked Wallace and Gromit beat.
I mean, Wallace and Gromit. No, Wallace and
Are
Gromit
you
didn't-
sure Wallace and Gromit wasn't Wallace and Gromit 06?
I thought you said Wallace and Gromit beat this. I know it did.
It did, but Incredibles came out in 2004.
Oh, you're right. Okay, my bad. I'm dumb. My bad. Okay. Ignore me.
If I remember correctly, Pixar might not have had a movie that year.
Well, no, wait, wasn't it? Wait, are you sure Incredibles wasn't 04?
Incredibles was 04.
Okay, that's what I'm
was
saying. So
04.
Incredibles is 04. This is 04.
I
Wallace
think
and
Cars
Gromit.
was 06.
Yeah, Cars is 06. Now
Yeah.
is
Ratatouille's 07.
yeah, that
All
yes.
right, hold
Wall-E
on.
08, and so on and so forth.
Okay, the point being, I have a feeling Wallace and Gromit is 06. The point being, it won. Let's just take that away. We had a stop motion film win. Okay.
All right, it went up against 2000. It was in 2005. This is because it's probably based on when the dub came out. Who knows? But it was the 2005 one, and it went up against Corpse Bride and Wallace and Gromit, and lost to Wallace and Gromit.
Okay.
I'm glad it didn't lose to Corpse Bride. All due respect.
Okay, there you go.
Incredibles went up against Shark Tale and Shrek 2.
I mean, thank God Shark Tale did. Could you imagine if Shark Tale won out of those three?
Yep.
Oh my God.
De Niro must have been really good. Must have
One
really
of
impressed the
these
critics.
things is not like the other.
The only way Shark Tale wins is the critics were incredibly moved by De Niro's portrayal as.
No, or it's
You
just
know?
like an industry thing with Martin Scorsese. They're just voting for their friend because Scorsese's in it. It's like, Marty's in it. Let's give it to him.
I mean, look, the pufferfish even has his eyebrows. I mean, come on. It's like we're shunning Marty in fish form. We can't do that.
And Martin Scorsese is by far the best part of that movie.
Well, that's true. Well, it was great. Look, I think I still really like De Niro in that movie, but yes, it's a cheap shot though. What we do with him in that
I
movie.
will have to rewatch that while I'm going through
But
the.
you have to admit that at least going against this, Wallace and Gromit it's stiff competition.
Anyway, so I think we can round out the background.
Yes, please do.
No, that's it. So point being,
That's it. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
My bad.
There we go.
All right, so you mentioned Dragon. One thing I wanted to point out, like as we go into the intro here, I think this is definitely like it kind of plays around with the format of a usual Ghibli intro, as far as like it's got the same beats where it's like just like atmospheric shots, but obviously the big subversion here is just like right off the bat, like we're not wasting any time. We are seeing that moving castle in like full glory. Like there's no build up, and I kind of appreciate that. I kind of respect the chutzpah to just be like, here it is. Like we're not going to make you wait for it. It's right here, right at the start.
Walking on chicken legs.
What do we think of the design? I mean, like I said, the design. I love all the characters. We'll get into them all individually, but the moving castle itself is obviously a character in its own right, and it's such an iconic design.
So from the, I mean, obviously you see the design. Like, have you actually seen the Japanese poster? I mean, the Japanese poster. I like the original Japanese poster. I want that hanging up in my bedroom.
Oh, I'll need to. I'm gonna Google it right now. I want to see it.
I mean, I can put. Like, I mean, I want that in my bedroom. I was thinking of, if I can. I'm going to a convention, so hopefully I might find it. Because last year I did see the original Japanese poster. It'll be by original. I mean the print, not the actual poster, movie poster, theatrical poster itself. You get what I mean?
Would you like me to find you the poster, Jacob?
No, what I'm saying.
Oh man, yeah, I've seen this before, Jacob. I've seen it before, and yeah, it's epic. Oh, that's a sweet poster.
Because last year at the convention I saw the one for Princess Mononoke.
Mm-hmm.
And I was considering getting that, but I decided against it. But if I can find one for Howl, I'm definitely getting that because I want that in my bedroom. It's a freaking epic design.
Totally. All right. So yeah, just right off the bat, I just love the image of it like moving through the fog. It's such a striking way to open the movie. Go ahead.
It's got a beautiful design. Again, I love the whole painted kind of background look to it. Where again, it's kind of that caps kind of thing. Where so it's otherworldly, just in essence, because of how we're animating it. Here's what's great about the castles as a concept. It's very steampunk and industrial and kind of an industrial on the outside, but on the inside, it's so magical and cozy.
Right, right.
You know, with a flame at the heart of it, as like there's the engine. You know.
Well,
like,
I mean, we'll get into the exterior of this thing is a trip, or the interior. I'm sorry, the interior of the thing is a trip, and we'll get into
it's
it.
like what if the Sanctum Sanctorum had legs and a steampunk outer shell?
Basically, yes. What if the Sanctum Sanctorum had the personality of the cape?
Yeah, exactly. So it's I love that. If you notice, I love that there's like a face built into the castle too.
Yeah, totally.
So there's a lot of personality in this thing.
I'll also say that, like, out of all the Miyazaki movies, I think maybe besides like Princess Mononoke, this one might make the best video game. Could you imagine exploring this thing in a video game format?
Well, yeah, I mean that'd be kind of fun.
Anyways.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of parallels Howl's kind of journey in the film, where again it's about kind of the humanity within the kind of the monstrous kind of visage. You know, it's kind of like the thing of Howl, the beast, kind of part of our Beauty and the Beast story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like the risk of becoming this thing and just being swallowed up by it, and we kind of transform it. At the start of this thing, by the end of it, it's a lot more more beautiful by the end of the movie. So it's roaming the countryside. I love how it casually roams the countryside. By the way, there's literally a moving castle like from the start. It's we have like the spinner like.
Little, I love how his reputation in the town is essentially like bad boy rock star from the vibe I get.
Very Miyazaki, David Bowie. It's
yeah.
It's like they warn about him like eating young girls' hearts, but then he only goes after pretty girls.
Okay, now there is one thing I should mention here.
Yeah.
So there are differences between the movie and the book. The biggest difference being all the war stuff was added for the movie because that's what Miyazaki wanted to infuse into it. But in addition to that, this isn't something that's not in the movie at all. But it's just it's something that was a little deeper in the book that you can kind of read into it still being there, but it feels like it's maybe one regret of the movie is that we weren't able to get into like Hal's supposed to be a little bit more of a womanizer and more of like a cad, like we kind of like he's very the whole like for the arc to really...
I kind of like the fact that that's our initial impression of him. And then, like, the more we get to know him, the more that's just, like, blatantly not the case.
Like, I'm satisfied with what we have, so that's why I'm not bothered by it, but it does make you wonder.
I mean, it's kind of implied, but it's more like a hint of his vanity rather than, like, him actually, like...
Oh, he's vain as fuck, don't get me wrong.
We have a scene that really
he's not exactly a womanizer.
I'm just saying it's kind of implied that he might have been at one point, but...
Yeah. Right.
Well, again, the whole... I guess what I'm getting at is we really heavily imply, but we don't directly say that the Witch of the Waste was somebody that Hal broke the heart of.
Yeah.
Really? I feel like that you're right that we don't directly say it, but I feel like we all but directly say it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's conveyed enough, but I'm just saying, had we maybe just had said it just a little more directly, I think we would have satiated. Okay, this is what we've heard the buzz about how we see a consequence of Hal doing that, and that would have been enough. So I mean, it's kind of there, so I'm okay with it because I'm reading between the lines. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so let's see. Oh, by the way, so just with one more thing at the castle. Miyazaki just keeps making his dream homes. Like by the end of it, like think about it. Like right now, it's like this place, this castle's like it's close to flying without being airborne. And of course, later on, we actually do make it airborne. So it's like okay, Miyazaki is just doing his fantasy architecture again.
And of course, like because he didn't want us to wait until the last scene to get the flying stuff. There's flying machines all over this movie outside of the castle.
Miyazaki after he like officially announces like a retirement or again or something. I think he's retiring. He's unretired. He can't make up his mind. But you know what he should do? He should actually use all of his Ghibli money to retrofit his house. So it's kind of like a version of Up, but it's like with aircraft parts.
Oh my God!
Actually.
I mean, he really is like the Brett Favre of anime directors.
He just live on a dirigible. Wouldn't that be cool?
It's Spirit of Ghibli.
Yeah. We'll call it Lapida. All right, so I guess so. Sophie.
Mm-hmm.
Hatter.
Sophie.
The Hatter. Yes.
Yes. classic Miyazaki lead character. Loves a strong female character. In this case, she's this quiet girl.
Well, I love how it's like it's basically like the traditional female lead, and then like the traditional like Miyazaki like comedic relief like granny archetype meshed into one character,
which is great.
It is, yeah.
I like the impression. One, also want to highlight some of her voice down here. Emily Mortimer, very underrated actress. She's really good.
I think she straight up like I love the contrast between her and Lauren Bacall here.
Mm-hmm.
But I love when we go in between the two of them, like within the same scene. I think it's very powerful the way they.
I love the whole way the curse works with the whole like, shifting. Like, because here's the thing, it's kind of like Miyazaki also kind of cover himself too. Because think about it, the more the
I just think Emily Mortimer and Gene Simmons knock it out of the park as Sophie.
Yes, they do. Yeah. So the really cool thing with the animation is that Miyazaki kind of has like insurance over like animation quality with this choice, because if she's looking a little younger between scenes, you have to add all the extra wrinkle lines. So he's kind of covered. Well, wait, why isn't she as wrinkly or look exactly on model in this scene? Well, she's shifting ages.
No, but I really like that I really like how it's like on some level I could see like hardcore animation nerds getting really bothered by it, just because I know there's a lot of animation nerds, and full respect to them, but I know there's a lot of animation nerds that get really bothered by characters being off model. But like, I love that there's no real consistent design to her aging. I feel like the only thing that's consistent about it is like the mental headspace that she's in, at least past the first act. I think that the first act is very much just her growing comfortable in her own skin in old lady mode. That's some of my favorite stuff in the movie, by the way. I love how quickly she develops a spunky attitude about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So more on that later when we get to the heart of old Sophie, but just in general with the meet cute and everything. So again, by the way, I don't want to take credit for this observation, because I saw it somewhere. I've just been mulling it over, and I thought it was like really clever. Could just be someone's reading into it. There's a lot of symbolism with hats in this movie potentially.
Oh yeah.
Where the idea, she works in a hat shop, and if you look, it's kind of like the idea that like, for example, there's like with war, all the soldiers wearing like a very uniform hat. So again, it's very kind of like a kind of a very single-minded kind of like like people follow marching orders. And you have big hats, which are kind of like the vanity and greed and all this kind of thing, with kind of a Lauren Bacall Witch of the Waste. And then you have Sophie with a very, very, very simple hat, very economic thing. It's a hat with like three berries or 3 beads on it.
Totally.
Very as economic as it could get versus like her mother, which has pretty much almost like a Carmen Miranda hat.
Yes, like a good way to put it. It's basically like a more tasteful Carmen Miranda look.
So, by the way, with that, I love in kind of sympathy for Sophie at the start is the idea that, okay, it's a quiet girl. She's, presumably her mother like hired her at the hat shop.
I feel like the vibe of Sophie's home life is essentially like a much less actively abusive version of Cinderella.
Kind of. I mean, her mother seemed nice.
I think there's some love there to be had for sure, but at the same time,
her mother does betray her later.
You can totally see how she's like basically like the forgotten child of this family,
Oh yeah. Sure. Because she doesn't have enough flair.
Exactly.
Okay, so Howl, Christian Bale, again, I'm with you. I think he's so well cast in this role. I think he's got charm for days.
Immediately when he sends those soldiers away, it was like
literally the first line is just like, yes, that is the character to a T.
I'm just like, so okay, Sophie, go with him. Whatever.
It's like Sophie's just like, yes, I love this guy already.
Sophie's choice, no choice, just go, Sophie. But yeah, so she's got charm for days. He's got an ego. He's got mystique. He's got the David Bowie kind of flair to him.
But he's also this charming bad boy.
Yes. I love that. Also, there's little moments throughout the movie with Hal, especially when he he removes the curse from the table, or like the marking from the table. You can see like there's a sense of fun, but he's also hiding some pain.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I love that. We're like. The skywalking scene is such a great meet cute for them, you know.
And it's so iconic that it's like become like the cover art in a lot of like the
I
recent
would also
DVD
say
releases.
like the score, like the moment that they get airborne and start
That's when we
walking
have the
on the
hell.
air.
That's when we have the theme.
I'd say this is like
It's
probably one of Joe Hisaishi's best scores.
I absolutely
this
think this is one of his best scores. It might be his all timer, honestly.
I mean,
Ponyo's still really good though.
I mean, the thing is, like, saying Joe Hisaishi's score like one of his best scores, it's like almost all of his scores are fantastic, so it's hard to say.
No, I mean you're right, but the thing about this score that I really respect is that like
the thing I really know is like I love how kind of like how a lot of the theme is like a waltz almost.
Well,
right.
I argue it's more of like a main theme that's used a lot in the movie.
Dragon, that's what I was gonna say. I love the motif element of this score.
But I noticed there are like some waltzes weaved into there.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very operatic score. Like throughout the whole thing, it's very bombastic. I feel like it's got more of a presence within the movie than a lot of the like. I feel like a lot of his scores do a really good job of just kind of like accompanying the action and kind of keeping to the background, except in the big dramatic moments. But in this movie, I almost kind of feel like the score, in a very waltz-like way, Jacob, definitely almost kind of like leads the movie.
Yeah. Like I said, I want to get this again. I kind of want to get the soundtrack for this too.
It's it's the theme is like it's exciting. It's it's romantic. It's also like a little bit dangerous, and I like that.
Just like Howl himself.
Yeah, the danger of falling in love with a magician. So he escorts her to the bakery where Sister Letty works. Which, by the way, just with the bridge into the design elements of this movie again. The little touches always go a long way in fleshing out our setting, where it feels like a French European town. You have like the labyrinthian alleyways. You have like the bakeries, like is like part of this really nice building. You know, the best thing though in the design of this town is like the evolution of like how we again what Miyazaki is doing very intentionally here is the evolution of war from the ground perspective. Where at the beginning it's like the pomp and ceremony and propaganda of it all. Like, oh yes, look, we're waving flags. Our soldiers are kind of like the town heroes.
Took some cues here.
Yeah,
but it's all pomp. They said pomp, circumstance. Like, oh look how glorious this is. But then once they're in the thick of it, it's like completely devastating.
Yeah, later on the fire bombings, which of course very triggering for Miyazaki, I'm sure. The fire bombings, but yeah. So anyway, so again, the European vibe just assists this very well, and also you had like a lot of the air raids and during the First World War, especially too with England. But
the air raids were definitely a World War I thing for sure.
So I'm saying that obviously we're not doing a full on air raid, but I'm saying it has like the atmosphere of like there's like a danger in the streets kind of a thing that you would have with the air raids. So it's kind of anyway. So, but here's with the world building. The magic is like an accept. This is interesting. The magic is like an accepted standard. I thought this was a really good idea of like how to just introduce the magic without just like
I feel like it's accepted, but at the same time, it's kind of like slightly nefarious and like magicians are not to be trusted, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like we don't actually question the magic of it all, but we question the morality of the people who use magic.
Yeah, like he's a potion man, or like kind of like a pharmacist, or kind of like he's like a guy with like a home remedy store of some kind. Like one of those herbal And
I really like. It is kind of interesting how Howl is like one of my favorite aspects of the castle is like you changing the front door to the different storefront locations.
Love it. The little dial and everything.
Yeah. Yep. And then of course Markle, and of course Markle manning each one.
Yep. So I want to talk about Markle because I think Markle might be one of my favorite characters in this ensemble. Like obviously Sophie and Howl have a lot more development, but first of all,
the beard effect is cool.
The beard effect is so goddamn visually satisfying every single time it happens.
He just pulls it off of his face, basically. Yes. I love that.
Like goes with the hood, like just kind of plops down.
It's so great.
And then just how he deepens his voice is like my master's not here at the moment.
I dig the kid so much just because it's so obvious that like he thinks of himself as like very self-serious, but he is just a little kid, and so I love that contrast with him.
He's also the sorcerer's apprentice.
He very much is the Sophie Princess. Yes.
And I really, speaking of like Sophie, I love how we like initially he's like very weary, untrustworthy of this new granny that showed up, but at the end it's like don't go.
She comes with food. Welcome, let her in.
It's like, but by the end he's like, don't go, Sophie, I love you. Kind
Adorable.
Of. Yeah, kind of like same as like kind of like a motherly or kind of.
I feel like that. I feel like the second half of the movie, like the first half of the movie, he's very much in like self-serious, like, oh, I'm Howl's apprentice, and I'm a big adult man, and I take all this stuff seriously. As the movie goes on, I feel like he kind of just like sheds his exterior and just kind of becomes that innocent youth that he is, which is just a very kind of cathartic story. It's almost kind of like his curse is that kind of like growing up too fast sort of thing that he kind of sheds throughout the movie, Does that make sense?
I mean, it's in a way he's like, it's kind of like he's growing. What I'm trying to say is almost like the reverse of growing up, kind of.
Right, yeah.
He's like he no longer has to like be the adult of the castle while Hal's gone.
Exactly, yeah.
And now he's actually has time with Sophie there to just be the fun-loving kid that he is.
Okay, so do we want to just go roundtable through these characters?
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah.
I mean, at least the initial crew. Like, obviously, we've got a few more to cover.
Well, we gotta talk about the Witch of the Waste.
Okay, yeah, great. I honestly think the Witch of the Waste might be my favorite Ghibli villain in the sense that, like, it is kind of a Ghibli trope to have the villain start out and then kind of like as the movie goes on become less of a threat. But like, I love what we do with this character, man. This character, honestly, like, I'm probably going to say this a lot, but this might be one of my favorite Ghibli characters just because she starts out and her presence is just like, I mean,
she's very like Ursula-esque at the very beginning.
Yes, it's so larger than life, man. And I honestly think my favorite scene in the whole movie might be the staircase scene. Because I love how the staircase scene just kind of like reveals what's really going on with her. And then I really think that as she transforms, we'll get into this, but I really think that's kind of where we see a lot of Sophie's heart, not just through how she's treating Howl, but I think specifically through how she brings her in,
It's a fun dynamic in which Sophie's just so ticked off at her and just making fun of her like that. She's going up the stairs. And,
the thing is, it kind of does start off as funny, it's like, look at her trying to struggle climbing up all these stairs. But then as you get it, and it's like, oh my God, this is really taking its toll on her.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then even Sophie, it begins to like, kind of like, obviously Sophie's doing it because she's also in a hurry, but she's also kind of like trying to get her up.
And can I just say the scene where the witch goes for the chair is like so relatable to me at the end of a long theme park day.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, somewhere to sit. Thank God.
Plus, you look just like her when she's running to that chair too.
That's basically how I felt after I did everything at Universal one day.
Yeah, exactly. I have done that day, Jacob. It is an exhausting day.
Yeah.
All right.
No, so Witch of the Waste,
Lauren Bacall.
Yes. So the Witch of the Waste, very much Miyazaki's, kind of, it feels like his take on Wizard of Oz and kind of old Hollywood. There's a little bit like the Wicked Witch. You're right. There's a big Ursula component to her design, obviously. But just the fact that we later on, especially given like a big plot points, we doused her with water. It feels very Wicked Witch of the West.
Except she's not the one that melts.
True.
I also feel like her initial design, I almost kind of got a little bit of a Yellow Submarine vibe. Not the blue meanies, but specifically like the people in Yellow Submarine, like the proportions I feel like are very similar. Like the very broad shoulders, the very kind of like exaggerated features. I don't know. That's kind of the vibe I got.
Do you kind of like, does kind of like the old fashioned kind of like, what's the word? I don't think debutante is the right word, but socialite kind of look.
Yeah, socialite. Yeah,
like with like the dress, the hat.
Sure.
But then you like when she runs through the chair and then like the whole light thing happens. You're like, what's going on?
Uh-huh.
And then like when after her powers, like she's basically been aged up and has become like this harmless old lady. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like you could do a complete 180 on her character, and like Miyazaki was able to pull it off just like that.
And Miyazaki's kind of like a master at that sort of like heel turn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Miyazaki's commentary on natural beauty, and kind of versus like natural beauty is Sophie versus the equivalent of the plastic surgery kind of Stepford wife kind of kind of like thing that women do to themselves, and it's kind of like it's.
I do really love this movie's take on inner beauty, man. I think it's because I've always been someone where it's like I don't give a crap what someone looks like as long as they're their personality. Like I'm always for the personality, so I love how that's represented visually through this movie, through the different design phases that Sophie goes through.
So one, just the animation on her just going up those stairs too, and just like coming undone is just fantastic, by the way. But aside from that, it's like the greed and cruelty, like the magic that she's done to maintain her youth is ultimately it's
to maintain her arrogance of youth, Dragon.
The arrogance of youth.
The arrogance of youth.
So everything that she's what's so great.
That should be a sound clip, by the way.
Well, we'll make a note of it. Anyway, so it's ultimately she's doing all this for a very fleeting purpose, and what's so I think where we get sympathy for, aside from the whole like just look at this sad, pathetic creature trying to come up these stairs. Aside from that, is just like she does all this because she's been she says while she's going up the stairs, I've been waiting for this invitation for like 30 years. She's been dying for she's been banished. This is like her big coming home moment. It's kind of like the whole Prince Zuko's been excommunicated and he's been dying to get the invite back to the Fire Nation. This is like a big moment for her. And what does she get for?
What does she get? She basically gets all of her magic stripped away, aged up to her real age.
Yeah, so again, there's a sympathy again. It's just her being entrapped the way she was. Obviously, she had it coming, but just seeing, like the pathetic, kind of like the end result of it. There is a sympathy to be had for her.
And Sophie, and even eventually Howl taking pity on her.
It almost kind of has like a similar effect to like Luke taking off Darth Vader's mask at the end of Jedi, right?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. So again, I love that too. Ultimately, the whole the curses in this movie are, the witch basically curses Sophie with the old age that she's that she's running from. Just imparts that on her because she's jealous about Howl, just kind of have taking a fancy to her, and also using her as a Trojan horse to get into Howl's castle.
Yeah,
and through Sophie's acts of kindness and confidence, as self-confidence increases, she gains her youth back. But the nice detail is that her hair never changes back.
Yeah,
to its original brown.
We'll have to show that she did learn something. Well, I mean, at night it changed back, but you're right. By the end point, the hair, but it's like this new form.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, speaking of what's old Sophie, again, Pete Docter's taking notes on this. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Spider-Man the Animated Series episode where Spider-Man basically goes up against the Vulture, and the way that Vulture in the animated series is that he had these talons that basically like sucked the youth out of people. So Spider-Man tangled with them, and he became an old man under the Spider-Man costume. It was it kind of felt like this, where it's like just the realization of like, oh man, the seniors have it rough, and it's just it's a relatable struggle that I think it's the elderly viewers I think really appreciate. I like to think it's just like the horrors of old age and the limitations of being essentially 90.
Especially when just moments ago she was a teenage girl, but basically, or at least a young woman.
So it's so
18.
great.
I believe 18 is the canon age.
That's right. No, it's Tiki's right.
All right, 18.
So with the with the whole like the shifting ages thing, the way I read it as, it's kind of like the old adage of you're as old as you feel, where despite being old,
totally,
she's feeling very youthful. That's where she's getting. Everyone's like, "Where do you get all that energy from?" This is where she's getting energy from. She's again. They always say like, "What's the best thing for you to do when you're getting up there? Is always stay active. Body in motion, that kind of stuff." So she's she's busy. She's a really good cleaning lady. She's staying proactive, and she's because of that. She's I love her. Going up those stairs with gusto while carrying an old dog.
I still say Sophie's like one of the best leading ladies in the Ghibli canon.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But we see her all fragile and tuckered out at the start, walk into the waste, and by the end, it's kind of like Carl. Again, it's like the Carl Fredricksen arc. By the end of Up, again with the whole "years old as you feel" thing, reinvigorate and giving
With
a
the Carl
reason.
Fredricksen thing, it's like we literally one of the first things we see is like the painfully slow like staircase elevator.
Yeah, and then by the end, he's like, he's an action star. It's like he's zip lining with the cane.
Right.
Well, it helps that his back got fixed.
Well,
That's true.
Well, then remember, he didn't get fixed when he was ziplining, though. He got that fixed during the fight.
Yep. I still love how that's like. I mean, like you gotta go to the chapter fight or chapter that scene is where him's fighting. Like, it's the scene where he's fighting Mons is literally called Old Man Fight.
Yep. Well, remember a lot of Pixar films is at the very least with Up. They named them after what the boards on the sequence were called. When they boarded the sequences, that's what their nicknames for them were.
Old Man Fight.
They're not the thing, so that's why they're titled like that. So I don't know if a lot of movies do title them like that.
I mean, I'm not. I mean, it's an apt description. I'm saying.
Okay.
But yeah. So, but I can the comparison between Up and this is well apt.
Let's talk about the real star of this movie. Okay, let's talk about Turnip Head.
Yeah. Oh God. So I adore the twist at the end of this movie with him so much.
Yeah.
I really like that. I could totally see how it would annoy the fuck out of some people. But for me, it's like I just love the idea that Turnip Head is he's essentially in his own parallel movie, right?
Kind of.
I love that idea. But then we'll get to the end with him when we get to it. But yes, iconic design. I would probably wager to say he's probably up there with No Face as like one of the most tattooed Ghibli characters in the canon.
I mean, he definitely has like that classic Ghibli smile.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, like he has the same smile that Totoro does.
And just animation wise, again, the word satisfying keeps coming up for me when I think of the character animation in this movie, like across the board.
And again, he doesn't speak a single word until the end of the movie.
Well, Jacob, don't sell him short. You do a really mean Turnip Head impression, don't you?
Yep. See,
it's amazing, isn't it, Tiki?
Yeah,
it's amazing that I can also do the other silent character that this movie went up against.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Anyway, so with the Wizard of Oz parallel, again, he's very much the Scarecrow. I'll miss you most of all, Turnip Head.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I'm with you, T. I love the animation on this character. It's phenomenal.
Does that mean like Heen is the Cowardly Lion?
I guess. I don't know.
I would say that's apt.
Yeah, pretty much.
Design-wise, it's pretty on point. Like the mouth is similar.
Yeah, kind of. I guess. Yeah.
Kind of like the droopy whiskers.
Now, I got to admit, with the twist at the end, they do question him kind of falling in love with her by the end, but it's a little phoned in. But it's
but what I love about it though is if you actually watch the movie with that context in mind, it totally tracks. He's doing everything that he's doing in the movie because he's in love with her,
and he fell in love with her probably when she was an elderly woman too. It's like because she showed him kindness.
But then I also love how the guy is just like a total Giga Chad in the sense that like once he realizes that Sophie's heart belongs to someone else, he's like, "That's totally cool. I totally respect that.
Yeah.
Not a problem."
And then he still just bounces away.
Right.
It's like that much hasn't changed even from when he was a human. He just still like bounces away on his cane or something like that.
Okay, so we got to talk about in all seriousness, one of the real stars of this movie, literal stars of this movie. We got to talk about Calcifer.
Oh yeah.
Calcifer is like the literal and figurative heart of this movie.
And
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, but I still can't think of another word but satisfying with his animation. Just seeing the fire like rolling around the log and all the different various states and forms that he takes throughout the movie. And
like I said, like Billy Crystal's performance is great.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, like if animation is cinema, then voice acting is acting. So, and I'd say this is probably one of Billy Crystal's best performances ever.
So the moment that really gets to me with Billy Crystal is right at the end where it's, where Sophie's like basically like asking him if he can restore Howl, and he's just like, I'm so tired, Sophie. Like that delivery right there. There's something just very subtly kind of heartbreaking about it. It's like, because this guy, like, I love how he goes from basically like curmudgeon comic relief to like the heart of the movie. He's essentially this movie's grumpy. He's essentially like grumpy. You do care.
Well, he's absolutely the grumpy of the movie.
Yeah.
Later on, he cares about the girl. It's a whole
right.
And then the thing is, I mean, he is Howl's heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, it's very much it's kind of a trio in a sense where you're going to get the Howl plus.
You know what? If Kingdom Hearts ever, and this is never ever ever going to happen, but if Kingdom Hearts ever did a crossover with Ghibli, I think Howl's Moving Castle would be like the biggest shoe-in for a world.
Yeah.
But anyways.
But yeah, so the idea again, the whole gig, the whole kind of gimmick being here, he's kind of like the equivalent of like the Rose from Beauty and the Beast in a sense of like
absolutely.
He's also he has to break the spell and in essence break the curse, on Calcifer that also breaks the curse on Howl essentially, which is kind of the goal of the movie.
And it's like to show you how much to briefly show everyone how much I adored Calcifer. My icon is currently Calcifer.
Yep.
Yeah. Everyone loves Calcifer from this movie. Calcifer is the breakout star of the movie.
And he's just a sentient flame demon.
So I love that he's like the magical source, but also, he's subservient to Howl and Sophie and everyone.
And he goes from like the grumpy to like someone who actually has a big heart. He also goes from like comedic relief to like the biggest plot element of the whole movie.
I'm gonna make a weird comparison here, okay?
I mean, before you say that, the thing is, like going into this, you probably wouldn't expect him to like be the whole centerpiece of the movie. It's like, he's the fire demon that powers.
But it's a classic Ghibli subversion, though. I honestly think this movie might have like. And you know what? I feel like talking through it, it's kind of giving me exactly what I wanted, where it's like, I feel like talking through it, I am gaining a bigger appreciation for it because I really do think at the heart of it, this movie does have some of the best Ghibli plot subversions, and plot subversions are kind of like a Ghibli staple.
We do have a really big matchstick moment we're going to talk about soon. Anyway.
Yeah.
Weird comparison I have for Calcifer is he's kind of like, he's kind of like the beloved butler kind of archetype that we're kind of used to, and that because again he's kind of the servant, but he's also he's irascible, he's kind of he's kind of snarky, like a Jeffrey from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like an Alfred Alfred from for Batman, or Niles from The Nanny, you name it.
I mean he has to move the castle, like Hal's telling him to like always make hot water for his bath. He has to help cook.
Yep. So it's also like
another star. We'll get to the other star later. The food.
Yeah.
But go on, Dragon. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's kind of like this mystery. It's like a bit of a mystery to his curse, which we basically learn is that he's linked to Howl. If the flame dies, so does Howl. Which again is like pretty much clues. Okay, he's literally the heart, and then all this like this mystique of like,
basically the plot realization of the Survivor motto. Fire represents your life. Once your fire is gone, so are you.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. So it also begins.
That's the one time I could make a Survivor reference and have it be slightly relevant. Give me this, God damn it!
I mean, I'm not denying it.
I'm talking more to Dragon, Jacob.
I know, but at least you get validation from me.
All right.
I know that doesn't mean anything, but
no, it means it definitely means something, Jacob. Don't sell yourself short. Come on.
I mean, I know. I'm just saying.
All right.
But as you were saying, Dragon.
Yes, I mean Billy Crystal's performance is Tiki, you're right. There's a lot of subtlety there. Again, we play. I love the way he just gets and says, "I did not say that." No. It's like I didn't say she come in. Basically, gets blackmailed until he's got to do what Sophie says, and it's hilarious.
And Hal's even impressed. Was like, "You got him to listen to you."
Yeah, I love how Markle is just like he's just like not like the idea of cooking when Hal's not there. It's just like it's not even an option. It's just like they're not even worth considering. But Sophie's just like, "Oh, we'll see about that."
And then like Hal's he's a little. There's like a little bit of before he has his meltdown about the hair and everything, he gets a little.
Which is one of the most fucking funny Christian Bale performances ever.
But I love that, like, with Calcifer, Calcifer's like dangling over when she's changing out, she's sweeping out all the ash and everything. He's like, please don't torment my friend. But he says it with a smile. But there's a little bit of like, hey, this is important. Don't mess with the flame, man.
It's like, hey, if he dies, I literally die too.
He's not saying that, but yes.
Yeah, obviously not. You gotta save it for the dramatic reveal.
So breakfast.
Really quick before breakfast, I just want to give a quick shout out. I love Sophie's cleaning outfit with the yellow bandana.
Yeah.
It almost makes her look like a cleaning ninja, which is so cool. Anyways, yes, breakfast. Let's talk about breakfast. Walter Jr.
Breakfast.
Or as Yajirobe would say, breakfast.
This must be Walter Jr.'s favorite fucking movie ever.
Well, of course. Oh, by the way, Tiki, real quick.
Oh, God.
You're goddamn right.
I saw a shirt they put out for Roosevelt's put out for a Goofy movie, and it had the eggs, it had the breakfast on it.
No way!
Oh,
yep,
that's awesome.
It does. It has the bread. It has a bunch of little nods and like little props from the movie, including the map and like the possum hat and everything. Literally, the Leaning Tower of Cheese. The whole thing's there, including the breakfast and the pizza. The pizza's also on it. Okay. So this breakfast legendary. I love this scene. It's basically our introduction.
It is like the freaking Mona Lisa of food animation. It really is.
It is, for sure. I mean, look, Ghibli's always had a great talent for food animation. You look at Spirited Away being a very prime example of, like, if he's so delicious, it'll turn you into a literal pig. I mean, it's impressive. And look at any film you can't miss. This, however...
This and Ponyo, Miyazaki's big foodie trilogy.
I would say so.
I mean, we've established a castle trilogy.
Yeah, right.
So if only we can get Miyazaki's version of Ratatouille. That's the real.
Oh my god! Oh yeah, if only.
It's like, yeah, if only that. If only, but like, I mean, there's a reason we went with this image to represent Calcifer.
Right.
I mean, like I said, I don't even like eggs, and Dragon doesn't either.
I'm literally allergic to eggs, but that bacon makes up for it, man. That bacon is doing.
This scene could kill Tiki in the wrong context.
That's what I'm saying. Like none of us really like eggs or can literally eat eggs, but the breakfast just looks like you could just like want to reach in and eat it yourself.
I am a philosophy with the bacon and eggs in a Goofy movie.
I am a fiend for bacon, so I love.
Oh, I am too, sir.
The funny thing is, I kind of want to try that cinnamon toast crunch seasoned bacon, like cinnamon bacon almost. I'm not making it up. It's like cinnamon, like dusted bacon. And I really want to try it. But this bacon, I could kill for it.
But yeah, so the food animation is peak with the bacon, the eggs, and I love the detail of like Calcifer eating the shells. So it's like the idea of like anything you would throw into the fire, he basically eats.
Yep. And it kind of provides him fuel.
Yes, and Howl ended up, he kind of takes on the serving with the confidence of like he's like throw a few more strips of bacon and 6 eggs. He's cooking everyone breakfast. I just love he's just the bon vivant just kind of walks in like, oh, I'll make the breakfast, and they all have like
this is like the kind of like the first time you see him after his initial introduction, and it just kind of immediately endears you to him again.
Yep. Anyway, so I love just the detail of him cutting the bread too. It's the way that bread animates, so like him just cutting it with like one hand, like an apple or something. It's amazing.
It's like we're suckers for food animation here.
Yep.
As we always say.
So
yeah.
With the breakfast, just an overall, so the found family component of this film is very strong. That's
another reason why I love this movie so much. I mean,
I feel like it's funny because like the found family thing is very traditional. It's like you can find this exact same sort of setup in any number of animated movies, Guardians of the Galaxy. It's a very, very tried and true formula. So I think it's really funny how this movie like kind of goes both ways with like the big swings in the world building, And the plot is definitely unconventional in a lot of ways, but like the themes at the heart of it are very conventional. And it's like I feel like it's it's just such an interesting kind of blend there.
You know me, I'm a sucker for that kind of story, and that's another reason why I really love this movie so much.
Yeah. Yeah, just I like. Everyone's like kind of growing to love Sophie, and I love that how Calcifer in particular does it. Like his grumpy equivalent is like, she likes my spark.
Oh my god, yes.
How it motivates him. Like clearly, Calcifer doesn't get enough motivation from Howl.
Hal barely ever says a nice thing to Calcifer. Let's be honest.
I mean, let's call a spade here. We all like Howl, but Howl is kind of a problematic king in a lot of ways.
Well, it's kind of the idea. He needs
yeah.
He needs the whole thing. He's the beast, but both again.
But I'm saying like he's like I feel like I don't want to go directly to like the Stockholm syndrome thing, but I feel like there's much more of an element of like I can fix him with Sophie than there is with Belle and the Beast. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a fixer-upper thing. That's not really like you.
No, but like what I'm saying is that like I feel like with Sophie, like Sophie's kind of like she's drawn to Howl and like kind of like him being like larger than life. She does see his heart, but like at the same time, there is definitely a component of like this guy is like super problematic, but I can fix him. But
well, I think it's more so. I think it's less fixing him. It's just more of like, well, look, I'm kind of roommates with the guy. I'm here. I'm cleaning up the place. And well, I think it's just kind of natural. Like they're, she's kind of falling for him. We might as well get along with the guy here. And they kind of, she calls him on his stuff when he's like throwing a tantrum over like, my hair. I don't want to live if I can't be beautiful.
So, like I said, I feel like the hair scene is like the big Christian Bale voice acting moment. It's just I love the contrast between how he performs pretty much the entire rest of his performance and then this one scene. It's just like it really just illustrates the pure vanity of this guy so well.
I love the change where he goes from just like the comedic line to again, and like the depression seeps in. I don't want to live. I don't want.
And the thing is, he doesn't even look. The thing is, he doesn't even look too bad with red hair.
Yeah.
That's
the funny thing. He looks perfectly fine.
Well, it turns black.
I think that's definitely part of the joke. Is that he's just as like stereotypically handsome in any hair color. I think.
So I love that when he falls into a depression, he turns into goo.
Yep. And Sophie's just instantly calling it like, "Oh, quit being a baby. You're having a temper tantrum."
Yep. Pretty much.
Oh yeah. All right, so
and she's like, I just cleaned this place, and now you're just getting goo all over the place.
Yep. So literal snot-nosed punk in that scene, pretty much. So the plot overall is that Hal doesn't like war. He refuses to participate because basically the idea is like it's like the draft with magic. It's basically people are being sorcerers are being called in to serve at the pleasure of the king. He's been approached by I think like both kings or something. He's been approached by the king to show up. Mm-hmm. And, he refuses to participate. He's basically reluctantly getting involved more and more. The big thing, one of my favorite bits with Calcifer in the whole movie, no one ever talks about it. I love the quiet scene between him and Hal, essentially by the fire, where, he comes back in and, kind of the kind of peeling back the beast, like the winged beast form, and he's just listening. Like it's a very quiet, really one of Billy Crystal's best acting moments in the movie. Where
he's basically saying like, "If you go anymore, you won't be able to come back."
Yeah. The idea that again, the more you give in to kind of the monster of war, the more it'll your humanity will disappear forever. The last rose petal will fall. You get it. Anyway, so it's a nice quiet scene that kind of sums up what the dilemma of Howl is and how he's kind of being drawn more to the conflict, even though he doesn't want to participate in it.
I mean, he's trying to attack both sides to prevent the fighting, but he's beginning to seeing the futility in it.
Yeah. So let's see. Also, with Hal's beast form, I just want to mention with the big black bird kind of crow-like form, which again matches the bird legs on the castle. I love that it's kind of a it's like a demonic Da Vinci drawing of sorts. That's kind of the logic behind this design. It's kind of like, the whole like Da Vinci's like whole like the flying man kind of concept, but it's like, so it's kind of nature and machinery, kind of like kind of it's Miyazaki's kind of like, if man could fly would be my dream, and what would that look like? Well, the natural form of the world would be like a crow. You could fly like a crow.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So the again, Miyazaki's discussed with the art where you kind of see it with the king. I love the king shows up very briefly. The idea is the king is kind of a parody of Bush, which is kind of funny. He like parallels the Bush. Where it's the idea of like this gung ho. I think Miyazaki was once quoted with this really funny line comparing Bush to like it's like the ghost of John Wayne. So that's kind of the idea here, where basically the king just kind of pops in for a camp before we find out the Howl just transform himself to make him look like the king. It's like, oh yes, well, here's an idea, here's the next battle, useless battle plan. Like, oh okay, this is excellent work.
But it's after the king came. It's like, I no longer want to use magic for this.
Yep. So again, he's like, oh, that's a very astute point. That the real king shows up and he's a blistering moron. he's gonna turns right out of the room, none the wiser.
It's like that's a very like your doubles are getting better all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. So anyway, so with the plot, so we visit Madame Solomon.
Solomon was kind of an interesting character, like probably like the closest thing this movie has to an antagonist.
Well, she's very much the mini driver in Princess Mononoke.
Yeah.
Like she basically takes that role where it's like she's doing what she's doing for reasons that she believes are correct, but obviously are not actually like moral. But I don't know. One of my favorite parts of her is just how quickly it's like, well, that's enough of this silly war. It's like you can tell that inherently deep down she really isn't a bad person,
Well, yeah, that's the appeal of even with the Witch of the Waste. We don't have villains that are with the exception of Mark Hamill. We don't have villains that are completely evil.
I love that Mark Hamill was like that exception. Yeah,
with the exception Muska. Muska was the only
straight up baddie.
He was the only actually evil, like full evil to the core, kind of character.
But even that movie did have like the pirates as like the the red herring villains.
You're right. That's what I'm saying. That we have like villains that either get redeemed or they have depth to them. And in this case, that's the thing. So Solomon, she basically her whole thing here. So Hal basically sends Sophie to pretend to be Pendragon's mother, and to basically say, my son's such a lazy coward, he can't possibly fight. Be conscripted to fight in your war, and that'll be his get out of jail free card.
And but I love how when he goes to, he says, "I'll follow you in disguise," but then Sophie, and he says she's eventually joined by a dog.
She thinks that was really a funny joke. She thinks
I love that the design of the dog kind of can realistically, like, I would buy Sophie thinking it's Howl.
I mean, I think most people watching for the first time, like myself, did think.
Yeah.
I mean, it even has like the kind of the blonde hair that Howl used to have.
So, anyway, so after of course a fun round of old people versus stairs. We get in there and basically Solomon, we meet with Solomon, who basically she was Hal's master. She was Hal's teacher. She kind of let him, at least refined his magic, and she basically is calling all the sorcerers there to fight in the war, which he doesn't even believe in, by the way. Later on, she's just kind of doing is okay. Well, the prince went missing. We gotta do a war. We gotta use our magic as we're again the whole credo of the sorcerers. They have to serve at the pleasure of the king. That's the rule. So. Classic Miyazaki, not clear-cut. Solomon has a point about magic having a responsibility and rules to it, where basically Hal's been using it selfishly and for his own purposes and just for fun left and right. But, by the same token, again, using that gift for war, which she doesn't even believe in, that's, again, it's like she's right and she's wrong at the same time. It's an interesting conflict where she's right about magic should be used responsibly, but it's the irony of like, well, you're not using it responsibly, you're using it to kill each other. It's not right. So again, and also knowing, again, she full well knows that if he uses the magic, he's going to transform into a monster permanently, which is not cool. So she's definitely in the wrong, but she's not, she's not evil, and she very much like soft pedals, like, okay, we're all good. Which I think on the first watch of Howl's Moving Castle, I was like, we really just like that was always the biggest problem I had with the movie. The first watch was like, really, she's just gonna like she was going after him and sending all these people after her house. Like, you know what? I'm okay now. Guy turned into a prince. We're all good. Just like that's fine. This guy shrugs it off.
Yeah.
We shrug off the plot a lot at the end there, but again, a lot of it's like, she didn't care. It was fine. She was doing what she was following orders. I guess. We have an awesome flying escape. So already the castle kind of flies, and later on it literally flies, but we definitely got to have a flying sequence because it's Miyazaki at his peak.
Only 2 movies don't have a flying sequence, at least.
Yep, possibly 3.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is not one of those movies. So again, we have an awesome flying sequence. We're ultimately crashed into the mouth of the castle.
Yeah. It's like, and after it crashes and they managed to get it out, I was like, if we put a cover on this, maybe Howl won't notice.
Well, by the way, Tiki, creepiest thing when we strip away the witch's power, and I love this. It's a very steampunky kind of magic idea. She sits in the chair, and essentially it's an electric chair because we have all these light bulbs that get revealed in front of her, and they pretty much zap her.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was talking about earlier when she sat on. They started like flashing all those light bulbs. It's like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, it's so creepy. So with that, we save the witch and we kind of redeem her. So now we have the fully formed kind of found family here. The witch. Again, I love this little bit where she finds like the peeping bug that her mother kind of betrayed her with, and just kind of put in the purse.
And the Witch of the Wish just feeds it to Calcifer.
Yeah, which of course makes him sick and causes him problems for a bit, but still, I just love how she's kind of protective of this found family in the moment there. Obviously she still screws things up in the third act, but still, in that moment though, it's like she's kind of getting to a point where she's moving past all the beef that she's got with Sophie. So I love how we transform the place from like kind of like a kind of a sorcerer's kind of a workshop to like a proper home. Where they hide away from the war.
And again, it's reflective of Howl's transformation himself.
Exactly. And then we have like a romance shot where we have like the flower garden. She's going to open a flower shop, and I think it's going to be nice.
The flower garden is absolutely the equivalent to the library.
Yes, it is.
Almost like 1 for 1.
I mean, that was like another serious contender for the thumbnail image. But we wanted to include the castle.
Yeah.
It's like I said, as I said to Dragon like numerous times during our struggle session to make this thumbnail. It's like one of the most artistically intricate movies in the entire Ghibli canon.
It is, yeah.
But it's almost impossible to find a good thumbnail image from it.
Yes. So again, with the kind of our Beauty and the Beast struggle here, Howl is again he's growing a little darker and angry at the bombers, and now he has something to protect, which is really cool. The idea now he's got something to fight for.
Basically, instead of just like lashing out at the world.
Yeah.
Basically, just because he's angry at it, angry for the war, he's doing it to protect someone he loves.
So then we get to the last 20 minutes of the movie, which I think on a rewatch, I've come to grips with a lot more in that first watch. But a lot of you question the logic of the plot here in a few ways. Where I think the way it's supposed to be interpreted is that Sophie needs to at least for a moment dismantle the castle. So basically, they won't be able to find Howl. It's essentially the only logic you can really take away from that. Because otherwise, it makes no sense. Like, why does she suddenly want to let's take Calcifer out in the rain? Like, this is a good idea. It just seems really dumb.
It's because he's linked to the castle and obviously severing his ties to it. He's basically also severing the ties to the castle as well.
Yeah, members can go back inside again. Like, okay, let's make a little walking head now.
But that's the thing. It's like it's intrinsically linked to him. Like again, people could probably find the castle that way, but it also allows it to be freer in a way too.
I mean, I guess, but it just still seems like a lot of trouble. Just for a moment, we're just going to rebuild the castle to some degree anyway, and Howl's not even there to do it properly. But it's an emergency situation. Like, these are things of in the we don't. I think the last 20 minutes is very much encoded the kind of protected and we don't care. We know something bad's happening. We want to save Howl. The castle, which has been our main set piece of the movie, is kind of falling to pieces, and Calcifer is in peril. These are the important elements to focus on.
All right.
Then we hit the matchstick moment. The matchstick moment is we're on our way to kind of like tell Howl he doesn't have to fight. We got rid of the castle. He's all good now. Don't protect the hat shop from being destroyed.
But that's the reason why they destroyed the castle in the first place, because the castle was linked to the hat shop too.
Okay.
It's like they needed him to stop protecting the spot in the war zone that was tied in order to save his life.
Here.
So,
anyway, so the witch grabs Calcifer, realizes, putting two together, oh my god, that's the heart. And just again, delusional she just grabs the heart, which sets her on fire even.
Yeah, it wasn't really the smartest idea there.
Yep, so it all falls apart when we put out Calcifer, and then we have like the weird interstellar twist of the movie with another Nolan reference and Christian Bale
This is
being
honestly one of my least favorite elements of the movie, just because I don't really feel like the setup and payoff is honestly, this is kind of the one moment in the movie that I still don't really completely understand what's going on.
Look, Miyazaki just wanted to work in that college fantasy kind of like.
No, I get that. I don't know. I just don't really get the semantics of it, I guess.
I'm with you too in that it feels like the payoff is again like Interstellar, like any like a time travel thing would have been okay. So they're going to be on the lookout for what Sophie says, and that'll save the day. But we don't really pay off like going through time really.
Right.
If you think about
Sophie learns something. That's all she learns, and then she says something nice. Yeah.
But then they remember, and Hal looks for her later. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. He finds Sophie in the beginning of the movie.
Yep.
So technically, the whole time, if you rewatch the movie, knowing the whole time travel element, it actually works.
Okay.
I can tell you disagree when you say just okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacob, what you're laying out is like, yeah, fundamentally, you're right. I still think the movie itself doesn't really explain it all that well. All right.
All right.
So.
Okay. Or just okay.
All right. So let's see. So we end up. So point being, she has learned the important information in going to the past, and with that information, she returns the heart. She returns the heart to Hal. Again, the fundamental is the whole thing with the jilted ex-lover. Is moving forward. She's permitting the heart. It's a nice little moment, and Hal is he's transformed for the better. He's human. It's it's kind of our big Beauty and the Beast payoff. Very nice. It's a nice love story. And we kiss Turnip Head while we're at it. He turns into a prince. It's kind of like a little frog prince kind of parallel there.
And then he was in love with her. He sees that she's in love with Howl and just leaves.
Yeah, like I said, I just love how this dude is like I don't know. I really do feel like that twist is one of my favorite elements of the movie, and like I feel like in lesser hands, it could just come right the hell out of nowhere. And it does come right out of nowhere. But like, I don't know, Jacob, it's like, I kind of feel the same way about like how you were laying out the time travel stuff, except I think, well, the time travel stuff, yeah, it's there. I feel like it's a lot easier to identify Turnip Head's storyline on a rewatch if you know that what he's doing is all out of a love for Sophie and kind of like I said, it's like I really feel like you could easily have the exact same movie, just set it from Turnip Head's perspective, like start out with like, the first act is the prince getting turned into the scarecrow, and then
it's like how Miyazaki made the little companion piece to Totoro, like May and the Cat Kitten Bus.
Yeah, exactly. I
and
can
then
totally see like a first act where the prince gets transformed, and then it ends with Sophie finding him.
Yeah, it's like I kind of want to see a short film based on that.
Totally.
Like a little companion piece to the side of it.
Yeah. So, of course, with the prince around, we put an end to the silly war, which is like, okay, we put an end to the war. All right, so it was that simple the whole time, but that's kind of the gag, though, of like, the war started for stupid reasons. If only it could end this simply. Mm-hmm. We found the missing guy. But the end. We have a really nice happy end.
I also love how subtly the missing prince is like. It's literally set up in like
it was
background character dialogue.
Yeah. Like I do love that there was a line at the very start though. The prince is missing.
Yeah, but it's like it's very easy to miss if you're not actively looking for it.
It's the Where's Waldo, the Where's Turnip Head.
Right. Yeah.
And it's never. It's kind of implied that the Witch of the Waste turns him into it, but Actually, I mean, it's not even really confirmed like who turned him into the turnip head in the first place.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's like so he's just like something out there turned him into a turnip head.
It is
So-
icky that the Witch of the West is is hitting on Turnip Head, but just saying.
But yeah, but then they rebuild the castle is rebuilt, and now of course it's flying.
Which is great.
They fly now.
I love that Calcifer. He was basically the whole point. Like Calcifer was freed, and then he came
Calcifer
back because he
essentially
missed
has
him.
like a genie moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He missed him.
Yeah.
Then he comes back, and then of course on the balcony, Howl and Sophie share a kiss.
Yep. I think
And
it's
that
been said.
song that ends out the movie is just freaking gorgeous, man.
It is. It's very lovely. We have the found family. I think the implication is that Hal and Sophie might be married. It's not like said in the movie,
I
but
don't really think they're really. I think kind of like one of the points of their relationship is it kind of defies labels like that. Honestly,
well, no, I'm saying I think in the book they were married, so I think that's they don't. say
yeah,
in the
but this
movie,
movie's a
though,
loose adaptation of the book.
yeah. So
Like so, the song at the end is actually sung by Sophie's Japanese voice actress Chieko Bashio,
Uh-huh.
there you go.
and who voiced both old and young Sophie.
Props for that pronunciation, by the way.
Thank you. I'm studying a bit of Japanese.
Nice,
Thank
nice.
you. But yeah, but it's like I wouldn't say they're married, but they're definitely a thing.
Oh yeah. They're making kissy facey at the end of the movie. Things are going good.
And like one of the few like confirmed couples in the Miyazaki canon.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
all the others are like kind of implied like maybe something could happen, but this one is like explicitly like a love story.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's one other, but the other one, well, we'll get into it next year. I mean, it was there, but I don't want to.
Okay. At this point, it's like one of the few, though.
Yeah. Anyway, the point being, it's very nice, picturesque ending. It's the definition of nice.
And like
It totally is.
Like this is like someone put a frame around this image. I want to hang this in the hearth of my home right now, next to an open flame.
The hearth of your home.
Yes,
but again, I
Home
still
is where the hearth is.
But again, I still I just want a poster of the cat, the Japanese poster of the.
Indeed.
I mean, I don't have a lot of posters in my room, but I definitely in my room, but I would definitely want that. I mean, who knows if I see like wake up at night, it might startle me. It's like like it's kind of freaky looking, but.
Well, then just look at the Ponyo poster.
I mean, the Ponyo poster would be like, nice and sweet.
That's what I'm saying. You look there, you get terrified, and you look to the right, like, oh, Ponyo, okay, we're good now.
Yeah. But either way, I said I had the opportunity to get the Princess Mononoke one, and I didn't, which is also a pretty cool poster, but...
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right, final thoughts, gentlemen. What do you got?
I guess I could go first.
Yeah.
Sure.
But as I said, I still have yet to see even the rest of the Ghibli movies, even outside of the ones that we're going to have talked about and are going to be talking about. I haven't seen any of the stuff that hasn't been directed, that wasn't directed by Miyazaki or anything like that. I still want to see those, but of the ones I've seen so far, I still stand by my statement of this being my favorite one. The artistry, the story, how it's just basically Miyazaki's version of a fairy tale. And the entire all the characters, the music, everything just comes together. I still stand by my statement at the beginning of this being my personal favorite Miyazaki and by extension Ghibli movie so far.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that discussing it, I definitely I still don't. I don't know. This might top Porco Rosso. This might top Porco Rosso for me now that we've kind of gone over it. There are some messy elements to it, but it's so ambitious, and the stuff that works about it works so well. And it might not be my favorite Ghibli movie, but I do think that it has my favorite ensemble cast of characters out of any Ghibli movie, and that counts for a lot. So, yeah, definitely a big achievement for Miyazaki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love Howl's Moving Castle. I think it warrants the buzz and warrants the praise. I mean, I think it's very appropriate that Pete Docter was involved in it because
Yep.
it was already kind of Ghibli's up anyway. So let's just get the actual
Exactly.
And I'm sure this may have helped, like, in the making of Up for him. I don't know, but it's very.
Do you know if Ed Asner was ever in any of these dubs?
Well, actually, there might have.
I'm gonna Google that really quick.
I think he might have, but I might be thinking of something. Oh, well, no, I'm thinking of Duck Dodgers. No, he wasn't. No, he was. Because recently I was watching.
Not.
Yeah.
The closest, according to like Google, the closest thing he came to was he was involved in He participated in a drawing class at the Ed Asner Family Center focused on Studio Ghibli art. So no.
Oh, all right.
But anyways,
point beat. So a lot of love for this. I mean, at the end, it's like a basket of diamonds. All these Ghibli movies. I don't know where to necessarily rank it because I don't think we should be bogged down in rankings per se. But I just
you and me have two very different perspectives on ranking.
Yeah, you always have
to. And remember, technically, Dragon Earwig and the Witch does count as a Ghibli movie.
It's not a Miyazaki movie, though.
Nope.
You did
well, it is technically a Miyazaki movie.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Goro Miyazaki directed
come on, don't be that. It's not a Hayao Miyazaki movie, all right?
And technically, you did say Ghibli, not Miyazaki.
Yeah. All right.
It's always semantics with you two.
Hey, I'm just giving you a hard time, Dragon. But I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying.
The point being, I really like this movie. I enjoyed it. I mean, look, I don't know, the plot in places feels like, maybe it's. I mean, look, it's nothing wrong with it. It's not bad. It doesn't make me enjoy the movie any less. I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't think it's as maybe tightly plotted as like as a Princess Mononoke, for example, or maybe A Spirited Away. Because I don't know. It feels like. I don't know. It feels like there's a lot of comfort, and I love our cozy moments in this movie. I love just kind of like just seeing kind of Miyazaki. Honestly, it's going to sound very simple, but seeing rounding out kind of the whole Miyazaki, but it's just kind of good to see Miyazaki just kind of just direct slice of life or like slice of life moments, and just kind of like direct like the little moments, and just direct period. Just seeing just kind of that style, and just living with these characters, and just seeing the kind of the discovery and the transformation, the personal relationships. It just feels very natural. It just flows really nicely.
I mean, he showed himself be like the master of both like these intricate slice of life moments and then these like grand epic set pieces. I mean, both are in this movie.
It's a really nice. It's a very romantic film, and it feels appropriate. It's just nice.
Nice. Yeah. And I want to highlight this like little blue earlier. It's like 2005 is the only year where no CG animated film was nominated at the Oscars.
That is true. That is facts. Yeah.
There you go.
I'm in Corpse Bride, Wallace and Gromit, and this. So yeah.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring that up from when we talked about that earlier, but
indeed. And I would also rather watch De Niro as fearless leader than him as a shark. I agree with that as well. All right.
and that's how we're ending Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh God!
Thanks a lot, Tiki.
but to cleanse it, I really enjoyed this movie. I still think this is like my favorite one so far. Maybe I'll change my mind when I see the 4 next year.
For sure. All right, folks, it's time to board the cat bus and depart until we reach our next memorable stop in the world of Miyazaki.
See y'all next year.
May all your
Hi-ho!
Hi-yo!